He also made the altar of holocaust from sedim wood, 5 cubits square, and 3 in height, the horns of which proceeded from the corners. And he covered it with layers of brass. And for its uses he prepared diverse vessels out of brass, kettles, forceps, little hooks, larger hooks, and receptacles for the fire. And he made its grating of brass, in the manner of a net, and under it, in the midst of the altar, its base, casting 4 rings at the 4 ends of the net in order to set the bars, so as to carry it. These bars he also made of sedim wood, and he covered them with layers of brass. And he drew them through the rings, which projected from the sides of the altar. But the altar itself was not solid, but hollow, made from panels and empty inside. He also made the washtub of brass, with its base made from the mirrors of the women who kept watch at the door of the tabernacle. He also made the atrium, at the south side of which were hangings of fine twisted linen of 100 cubits, and 20 columns of brass with their bases. The heads of the columns and all of the engraving work were of silver. Equally, at the northern area, the hangings, the columns, and the bases and heads of the columns were of the same measure and work and metal. Yet truly, on that side which looks out toward the west, there were hangings of 50 cubits, and 10 columns with their bases of brass. And the heads of the columns and all of the engraving work were of silver. Furthermore, toward the east, he prepared hangings of 50 cubits, of which there were 15 cubits, among 3 columns with their bases, holding up one side. And on the other side, for between the two he made the entrance of the tabernacle, there were equally hangings of 15 cubits, and 3 pillars, and the same number of bases. All the hangings of the atrium were woven from fine twisted linen. The bases of the columns were of brass, but their heads with all of their engravings were of silver. Now he also overlaid the columns of the atrium themselves with silver. And he made, at its entrance, a hanging, wrought with embroidery, of hyacinth, purple, vermilion, and fine twisted linen, which held 20 cubits in length, yet truly it was 5 cubits in height, as with the measure of all the hangings of the atrium. Now the columns at the entrance were 4, with bases of brass, and their heads and engravings were of silver. Likewise, the tent pegs of the tabernacle and the atrium all around he made of brass. These are the instruments of the tabernacle of the testimony, which were enumerated according to the instruction of Moses, with the ceremonies of the Levites by the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest, which Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur from the tribe of Judah, had completed, just as the Lord decreed through Moses. He was joined by his associate, Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach, from the tribe of Dan, who himself was also an exceptional artisan of wood, and of weaving, as well as of embroidery, with hyacinth, purple, vermilion, and fine linen. All of the gold that was expended in the work of the sanctuary, and that was offered in donation, was 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the measure of the sanctuary. Now it was offered by those who were past the numbering of 20 years and above, from 603,550 men able to bear arms. There were, beyond that, 100 talents of silver, from which were cast the bases for the sanctuary and for the entrance where the veil hangs. 100 bases were made from 100 talents, a single talent being counted for each base. But from 1,775, he made the heads of the columns, which he also clothed with silver. Likewise, of brass, there was offered 72,000 talents, and 400 more shekels, from which were cast the bases at the entrance of the tabernacle of the testimony, and the altar of brass with its grating, and the vessels which pertain to its use, and the bases of the atrium, as much at the circumference as at its entrance, and the tent pegs of the tabernacle and of the atrium all round.